So look at this. Anthony Edwards, he's averaging just over 17 points on 30% shooting over his last 2 games. That's after scoring 30 a game on 54% shooting in his first 10 games of this postseason. They're going to need more from him. So Zach Lowe, how can they get him going again?
Well, first, he's just going to have to put his head down sometimes. And look, the Mavs are an elite defensive team. Elite. So that's hard to do, but sometimes he's going to have to just catch it and go. But when they load up their defense and show him all those bodies everywhere and make that lane look impenetrable, the Wolves have to get into their passing game. And if there's one possession from game 1 that shows how they're going to have to play every single possession to beat this team, it's this one. Here we go. Ant's got the ball. Staggered pick and roll. Here's the double team. The key, Jaden McDaniels is up high on the floor. Ant can see him. And then from there, here comes the blender. Help tilts toward him. Skip to Karl Anthony Towns. Pump fake. Drive. Lob to Rudy Gobert. Not a sexy play by Ant, but that's when they're at their best, when they give him that quick release valve pass. And by the way, sometimes the ball gets all the way back to him, and then he can get downhill because the defense is scrambled and not loaded up. They're going to have to play that way over and over. And the other thing is, he's guarding Kyrie a lot.
Yeah.
That tired him out. There's a benefit to that on the other end, which is if Minnesota gets a stop, Kyrie is stuck on Ant. They can't get the matchups jiggered the way they want to. And if they can just go to him on the block, go to him at the nail, let him play a little bully ball against Kyrie, that might get him going too.
Anthony Edwards said, Zach, that he was a little tired after game 1, and perhaps his play reflected that a little bit. 13 of his 16 shots, they were threes. That's not typical from what we see from Ant. So do they need to help create more opportunities? Does he need to be more aggressive? What do they need?
I mean, if we look at Anthony Edwards' points per game and his offensive production for scoring the ball, it's been going down over the last 3 or 4 games, to be honest with you. And that's because he's been playing in the crowd, right? He's been playing in the crowd. Teams been loading up. Teams been trapping them. But that's part of it if you're going to play a double big lineup. I think, they're at their best when they move Karl Anthony Towns to the 5 and Naz Reid go to the 4. Now, Anthony Edwards have more space to operate and get downhill because you got to respect the shooting. But if you're going to keep that double big lineup on the floor, I'm not saying bench Rudy. I'm not saying that. But in order to open things up for Ant so, that he can get going, can get to the hole, can get to the free throw line, you're going to have to go small. Otherwise, he's going to continue to come off and shoot those pull-up jump shots.
I completely agree with you, Perk, because a lot of times people think, oh, Ant, he just needs to score early or he needs to blow through that wall that they've really built, the Dallas Mavericks. But you're right, because if there was one stat to me that was the most important, it was the points in the paint. The fact that the Mavs scored 62 or so to the 38 of the Timberwolves. Yep. When you have guys that are so talented, like Cat, who can shoot threes, like Rudy, who can finish at the rim. We've seen him put up 15 and 12 over the regular season. He's capable. But also Naz Reid, this has been a breakout season for him. You got to utilize that versatility. So you're right. If Rudy is not able to help you in certain circumstances, maybe you roll those lineups out where you go smaller earlier so that there's more movement on the offensive end. But you have to be able to hold down the fort defensively because that is where they're going to make their biggest statement.
Hold up. Are we just going to skirt right past the fact that Rudy Gobert has the best plus-minus on the Wolves for the playoffs by a mile, and their defense got destroyed to smithereens by the Mavericks in Game 1 when he was off the floor?
14-14.
We don't care about that. We're not going to mention that. We're just going to just throw that out.
What's that face?
Because Zach, plus minus is the most overrated stat in the league. You can ask anybody. It's hard
not over 15, 20 games. This is not a one-game sample now. This is the whole playoffs.
Okay, well, Zach, since you want to go over the whole playoffs, tell me this. Minnesota's best game was when? Against the Denver Nuggets in Game 2. Who was out? Rudy was out. When you go to... It was.
So what are you saying, Perk?
No,
play him 15 minutes a game?
What's your
suggestion?
You're going to have to try something.
All right, we've been asking all show. The results are in. Who's the best co-star in these conference finals? And everybody said Kyrie Irving. I'm not surprised with the result, Chiney. The landslide is what I'm a little bit more surprised about.
Well, I guess the circumstances. Siakam has a ring. So I was going to say the circumstances is it the ring? But really, it's Kyrie. I just think it's cool that we get to talk about Kyrie and how he was committed to defense in the previous rounds, and he's able to answer the call in which Ant Edwards said, hey, I've got you. I think he's earned it.
No, they got it right.
Yeah,
I mean, his championship experience have really kicked in on that team. His leadership and the trust that he have in those other guys. I just remember that one clip of him when he was telling Derek Lively, stop running and go to the free throw line and make the free throws.
He's been the
it was a funny thing for us, but it's a real thing. Like, that's putting that key in that guy back that he needs to hear that.
Kyrie Irving's leadership, his play has certainly been one of the best stories of this postseason. But, Zach, just looking at this weekend specifically, what's the biggest story going to be, you think?
I think the biggest story is going to be this series and how tight it's going to be. And if Minnesota bounces back tonight, we could be in for a long, spicy series. But I think that's the series. And other than that, can Boston wrap this up early and get a bunch of rest for Kristaps Porzingis? Even if he comes back, dips his toe in for a game, can they get a bunch of rest and rehab before the finals?
Wait, we're laughing over here on Zach because we just counted like 6 stories.
Yeah.
Whether or not Tyrese Halliburton comes back,
that's
whether
the story,
or
by
not
the
they
way.
can wrap up the wet.
It's Tyrese's availability to me.
Yep.
That's the biggest story.
We go.
There's a lot going on.
We gonna come back Monday, and the Minnesota Timberwolves are going to be up 2-1 in this series.
When we come back on Monday, we will be coming back at 12:30 out here in LA, 3:30 Eastern because of the holiday.
NBA,